Oops. I think we're live. Yes, we are live. I'm here with my new friend Darci. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Nice
Nice
to
to be
meet you.
here. Great. Thanks for having me today. It's great to meet you as well,
Y-
David.
Yeah, I intentionally don't find out too much about my guests so I can discover on the fly. So I didn't really read your bio too much. I want to hear it from you. But first, I want to sort of have you go back to the beginning, like when you were very young and how you were exposed to God, religion, and or philosophy. I don't know how you were raised. So just talk us through the sort of the journey and how you got to where you are today with all the ups and downs and everything in between. Just tell us an overview.
Sure. Well, I was raised in Denver, Lakewood, Colorado, and I have four siblings.
Oh,
So three of them are older, and one is 12 years younger than I. So
oh,
when I was 12, I got to help raise my little sister, which I loved. For a 12-year-old girl, there's nothing like it. So that was a blast. We were raised in a spiritual home. My dad was Catholic and my mom was
oh,
Lutheran.
oh.
And
Both high church denominations.
pardon me?
They're both kind of like high church.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my mom, she would go to church occasionally to the Lutheran church, but she was married in the Catholic church. So she came to church with us every Saturday night. We would usually go Saturday night because my dad was an usher. So we would go to church on Saturday evenings and we never missed. And he taught catechism. He usually taught my class.
Ah,
So I got my dad as my teacher
you were
for
the teacher's
catechism.
teacher's pet.
Yeah, I wish. I wish it worked like that. It was more like, can you help set up and clean up and
Teacher's slave. Okay.
yeah. Well, and he was a teacher, an art teacher
Oh,
by
oh,
trade. So yeah, so he was teaching all the time, whether it be art or catechism.
nice.
So so yes, I was raised very in a very spiritual household. Um, we were all musically inclined as well. So we all sang together, and my mom was a pianist. So we sang around the piano, and everybody harmonized together and
Wow.
sang together, and loved that. And that extended beyond just our family, it extended, with the cousins and beyond. So our family reunions were pretty much singing together.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
So lots of music and lots of sports because my dad also during the summers when he wasn't teaching school, he would teach what was called sports and games. And so we had all kinds of balls around our home. We had bats and hula hoops and all kinds of games. And so I learned lots of sports at a very young age. And when you have a large family, you get to practice too. So my favorites became volleyball and baseball. I preferred baseball over softball any day.
Okay. Okay.
Loved baseball
Wow.
and basketball.
Ah, nice.
So spent a lot of time doing that and um, loved school. I had amazing teachers and just loved going to school, unlike a lot of people. But I really loved learning, and that continues with me today. I still love learning, and I love learning new things and delving deeper into things that I've learned about. And so, and most of that right now is spiritual. So I love learning more about the Bible and stories in the Bible and different takes on it and writing about it and just learning more about God and Jesus and the Bible.
Nice. So, what about just the rest of the journey up right up until today? What are some of the twists and turns on your journey?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of chronic pain in my life, and I had a couple falls when I was young. My first day of second grade, I
Oh,
fell. Yeah, I was
wow.
twirling around the monkey bars,
Oh,
and
wow.
before the first bell rang, and I wanted to do what my friend did, and she was twirling around like this, and so I thought, oh, I can do that, right? But no, I couldn't, and I splat right onto the gravel, and nobody saw. I don't know how nobody saw, but I held my chin together and
Oh, God.
kind of walked into the bathroom, and I'm bleeding, and I
Ah,
pull down my hand and my chin is like
oh,
I know.
oh, oh,
And so I had to miss the first few days of school, and
oh,
I got a concussion. So the entire school year, I don't even remember.
wow.
I don't remember second grade, but I remember so many details of every other year.
Okay.
So I know I was concussed. Um, and then actually, the summer before, I fell off one of those really tall silver slides. I was at the top, and I was at a baseball game of my brother's. My brother's David, by the way.
Ah,
Um, and he was up to bat, and I was at the top of this slide, and I had sandals on, and I slipped and fell, and again,
mhm.
and he saw it, so he came running over, and I wasn't knocked out because I remember the ride to the hospital, and got stitched up and everything. But my mom believes that these two injuries were the result of chronic pain
Oh, yeah.
that I continue to experience to this day. She believes that was the beginning of some of my chronic pain issues.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. The chronic pain is the result of those falls.
Yes.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Wow.
that something happened in my nervous system because most of my challenges today are nervous system, but we won't jump to that yet.
You were like 6 and 7 when you had these falls,
Yes,
something like that.
I was very, very young. So,
How'd you
yeah,
do at
like,
school? How'd you do at school cognitively? You're good?
well, yeah, second grade, not so much. I mean, you even look at my report card for second grade and it says we'll talk at parent teacher conferences. There aren't even any grades. So
Wow. They were babysitting you. They were just babysitting you at that
yes,
point.
something, I don't know.
Uh,
But yeah, I always wondered why don't I remember second grade? Because I remember first grade, I remember kindergarten. I have memories of preschool more than I do of second
ah,
grade.
ah.
So,
You remember what
yeah.
you did for summer summer holidays after second grade?
After second grade, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
before third
sports,
grade. Okay,
baseball in the street with my family.
and you remember
Yeah.
that. You remember that. Okay.
Oh, yeah, bike riding around trails and tennis at the park, and yeah, just loaded with activities.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, so and then after, kind of the younger years, then when I was 18, um, I had a neck injury, and I actually went to, um the Mayo Clinic, and the Mayo
Oh.
Clinic could not diagnose what was going on with me, and I had migraines, and I
Ooh.
ended up having migraines for a decade. And what the Mayo Clinic did not do back then was test for food allergies.
Oh.
It was peanuts.
Oh.
I had migraines for a
Wow.
decade because of peanuts.
Oh.
Yeah, I loved peanut
Tragic.
butter that much. So after I had the headaches, I mean, and then I had a fall down the stairs.
At what age?
I'm 35 at this point,
Wow.
35, I have two kids, and I fell down the stairs. And I mean, I'm tumbling, right? And the baby gate is up at the bottom of the stairs, and I hurtle over it. I hurtled over it, but I twisted my ankle, slammed into the wall, and face planted into the ground. Another face plant. Like, what is wrong with me?
You look good.
Right?
You look good though.
Well, I don't feel so good.
There's no sign of deformity or anything.
Well, I got a couple scars up here, but and my chin.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I can't see it.
yeah, I've got 4 scars on my head um, from these things. But yeah, I ended up being bedridden as a result of this fall. I hurt my lower back,
Oh.
and so I wasn't immediately. It took about a year, and then I just couldn't get up anymore. And the problem is that it went down into my feet and into my ankles.
Mm.
The pain did. And I'm like, something is not right. And I had been to dozens and dozens of doctors and no one could figure this
And
out.
you're off the peanuts by this point.
Oh, yes. No migraines. No
Good.
migraines.
Good.
Yeah. So at least there's that, right?
I'll take pain from here down over pain from here up any day of the week.
Oh, you've
Yeah.
experienced it too, I guess,
No, I
huh?
haven't. I haven't really experienced much pain at all. But when I do get sick and I have fever and headache, it's the most disconcerting thing because you can't think straight and you can't enjoy. Like, I mean, right now I've got a little bit of back pain. I've got, I think, a broken rib or something from because I had a chest infection, like some sort of bronchitis or something. I was really coughing hard, and
Oh,
I dislocated something in my chest because my ribs crack. They're like slipping. My ribs are slipping. So I
I've
think it
heard of,
damaged the
yeah.
cartilage. It damaged the
Mhm.
cartilage from coughing so loud. But the pain from the neck down, it's like whatever. It's not really as bad for me as when I can't think straight. That's the worst.
Yeah, the
And when you had migraines,
cognitive.
you couldn't think straight, right?
No, I mean, I missed work. I got fired from a couple of jobs. Like, I couldn't hold a job very well, and I had some very compassionate employers
Yeah.
who worked with me and let me come
Yeah.
in during, times that I was feeling well.
Yeah.
So, thank goodness for that, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to hold a job.
I can't
So,
wait to hear the part where you meet Mr. Right and get married. Is that what happens?
well, yeah, so let me back up a little
Okay.
bit. When I met Mr. Right, I was on a date with another person.
And let me guess, you fell into his lap, right? You just like fell into him. Your chin landed
No,
on him.
no, even better. We were at a group date,
Oh,
kind of group
oh,
function, group
okay.
party. And I was seated at the same table that he was seated at, and it was a Moroccan party.
Okay.
And my date and his date were two of the chefs for the party.
So they were busy.
And so we were just there by ourselves. Like we were set up. It was kind of like a blind date. We were just set up. And so we're enjoying this Moroccan meal together without our dates. And I'm like, this isn't so bad. Because I almost didn't go because I didn't want to go with this other guy.
Oh, really? Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, I just went with him because he was a friend from work.
Okay.
And it was just kind of a friend date.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a serious date or anything, and Mark's date wasn't a serious date. So, anyway, but yeah, we were seated at the same table, is how we
Cool.
met.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, and then he called me the following week, and I never went out with anybody ever since. And
Nice.
that was, well, we've been married this December 7th, we'll have been married 33 years.
Wow.
So,
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah.
Amazing. That's fun.
So, yeah, we met, and then at this point in time, we were living in Los Angeles. We had moved to Los Angeles to help with a church plant.
Oh.
So,
What
yeah.
kind of church were you attending at that time?
Well, it was the Church of Christ, and we're not a part of the Church of Christ anymore. But at that point, we were assisting with this church plant. And so we moved, and they asked us actually if we could move into the Beverly Hills area. And we're
Ooh.
like, how in the world could we ever afford that? But you know what? there was this little pink apartment building just on the south side of Beverly Hills that we could afford. And it was roach infested. It was just awful. But we lived there for at least 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, and loved living in Beverly Hills. I mean, who wouldn't, But I got a job in Beverly Hills, and so that was nice because I could walk to work and
Wow.
and then help with the church plant when we weren't working, because it wasn't a paid position to be with the church plant. So, but Mark had been in ministry before, and I had been in ministry before also. So we had both come from ministerial backgrounds. We were both hired by a church for different reasons, and he was in Thailand and I was in Denver.
Oh, is the church he planted still thriving today or no?
It is. It is.
You go visit sometimes?
No, we've only been back to Los Angeles once with our daughters. We had to show them where we lived, and the pink building was still there.
Still there?
Yeah.
Little cockroaches still there?
Yeah, probably same ones. They never die.
Yeah. Wow. Has your hotel, or it's not a hotel, but the apartment building, has it featured in any of the films that you've watched?
No.
I'm sure it's in a film somewhere.
Well, probably. But do you recognize the name of this street? Doheny Drive.
No. Doheny? No.
Doheny Drive. The Beatles sung about it.
Okay.
So we were on Doheny Drive and Olympic Boulevard.
Nice.
So, yeah. Between Olympic and Wilshire Boulevard. So a lot of people will recognize those street names.
Yeah, well, it'll be a fun little research project. You said you like studying and learning. Just find out if it's appeared in any, Hollywood films, or even like B films, because there's so many films shot in LA and Hollywood, whatever, and Beverly Hills. How far is Beverly Hills from the studios?
Well, not far from Hollywood.
Not far?
Not far at all. Mm-mm.
Cool.
No.
So I would imagine they probably featured in some film. Not that it matters, but it's just kind of cute little connection.
No, it probably is. But Doheny Drive is in a song. So
cool. A Beatles song. Yeah.
And then I don't know if you remember the show 90210.
Yeah, it's had 2 incarnations now.
Okay, so that was our zip code, 90210.
No way.
Beverly Hills 90210. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Up here in Canada, it's like letter, number, letter, number, letter, number. It's different. It's different. Because you just have like 5 numbers or something like that?
For a zip code, yeah, 5.
5 numbers. 5 numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And is there any logic to the numbering system? Like if I told you a zip code, could you say that was this state or that state?
Generally, yes, but I could not tell you that.
Right, but the postmaster could. The mailman could. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm so used to our alphanumeric system up here. It's like, it seems strange. It seems it seems like just not very creative to just use numbers when you could put letters into, but whatever.
Yeah, like license plates.
Yeah, they're starting to change. I'm starting to notice they're getting creative with the license plates too, and I guess some people pay for their own customized license plate or whatever. But so what about the? I'm curious. You can fill in the gaps too about your journey up until today, because I'm not sure where we're at now. But at some point, I want to hear how you went from Catholic Lutheran upbringing to Church of God to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just answer that now. I think it's a good time to answer that now. So when I was, I was about 20, and I was living at home. Well, I had moved to Boulder for a summer. So I lived in Boulder for a summer. And before I went there, I prayed, God, help me find you. Because I felt like I didn't know Jesus. I felt like I knew about Catholicism and I knew about, you know, some of that, but I didn't know the Bible. And I didn't feel like I knew Jesus. And it just hit me one day. It's like, I don't think I know Jesus. Like, I just
Yeah,
felt like that. And this
yeah.
is my own personal experience. But so on the way to Boulder, I was like, okay, during this summer, my goal is to find God, is to find a new understanding of God and see what happens. So I prayed. And then that weekend, I got a job, a temporary job in an Albertsons, which is a grocery store that
Okay.
used to be here. There's very few of them left, if any. And so what I did was I was one of those people that give out little sample sizes
Oh yeah.
of things. Okay, so I was giving out Dad's root beer
Ah.
and making little ice cream floats.
Ooh.
And there was this guy. He was a really cute guy. Sorry, Mark. But he kept walking by the table for another
Yeah.
root beer, you know. And then he got up the guts and he handed me this flyer, and it was an invitation to that Sunday service where they were having none other than a volleyball
Ah.
party afterwards. So that's
Ah.
perfect for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I was a volleyball player. And so I went, and this lady, I sat down by her, and it's so funny because she pulled her Bible over and she shares her Bible with me. And that's the very thing that I wanted, was more of the Bible. And so afterward, I thanked her. I'm like, thanks for sharing your Bible with me, because I didn't have my own to bring. And so she shared the Bible, and then we had the volleyball thing afterward. And this girl, we just seemed to hit it off. She was also a volleyball player, and I don't know, just there's chemistry that you have between certain people, and she just felt like an instant friend. And she asked me if I wanted to study the Bible, and I said, absolutely, absolutely. And so we get together to have a Bible study, and I don't have a Bible, right? She gives me her Bible.
Yeah.
And that week, I didn't have a job because I was just
Mhm.
working that temp job. Well, they didn't need me that week. So I sat down in my living room and I read most of the New Testament during that week. And I just fell in love with the Bible. And I'm like, this is what I need. This is what I want. And so then I started going to that church, and that was the Church of Christ.
Okay.
That was in Boulder. So then I moved back to Denver, and there's not a Denver Church of Christ. However, they're starting a church plant. So I was a part of the church plant for the Denver Church of Christ. And I hadn't met my husband yet, but they needed me and wanted me to do the teen ministry, to start a teen ministry. So I did that on the female side. And then there was a male who started the male side. And so the teen ministry just blossomed. It did very well. And then later, the church plant to Los Angeles came with my husband.
Ah.
So there were actually two church plants, and those were both Church of Christ. Then we left the Church of Christ. It didn't feel like the right fit anymore for us. And so we moved to just non denominational. We just wanted a non denominational church where we could, just love God, love other people, love other denominations, love, right? And learn from other people and be a part of the worldwide family of God, right? So that's where we're still at. And that was, gosh, it's been 20, 25 years
Wow.
since we did that. Yeah.
Wow. How would you define or characterize the non-denominational denomination? Because it's very popular today.
It is. And I think there are different definitions depending on which non denominational church you attend. I think it's very wide. I can only tell you what my personal definition is, and that is it's people who believe in God, who love God, who I don't believe in church walls. I don't believe in denominational walls. I think it interferes with what God's plan was for our world. And I think, for instance, my Bible study, I have a Bible study that has, I don't even know what the denominations are because I don't care. I I have a couple Catholics. I
Oh,
know
yeah, no
that.
way. Oh,
Oh yeah, I
that's
do.
cool. That's cool.
And and I don't even know the other denominations of the other people. But
Wow.
do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Open. It's open.
it's open. There's no church walls, just like the first century church.
But what are the deal breakers? Like if someone came in and said, "Yeah, I love God," and whatever, but they don't believe in the Trinity, the incarnation, or anything like that.
Well, that's a good point. I've not experienced that. Um, if somebody didn't believe in the Trinity, which I do believe in the Trinity, I think I would probably ask to go out to lunch and try to learn more on an individual basis. And, if they would allow me to show them, some verses in the Bible, then I would hope to do that. And if there were some things that they wanted to teach me, then I'd be open to listening and having that back and forth conversation.
Have you had experience with Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses?
I have.
What's your approach as a non-denominational Christian?
Well, a guy that I was interested when I was in my early 20s, I worked with him at Pizza Hut, and he was a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh.
And so we sat down, we would work the late shift, and then we would go out. You can't, when you are working so hard at a job like that
You
at
can't go to
Pizza
bed
Hut,
right away after.
you can't go to bed. So we would go to Village Inn, have some
Yeah.
pie, and do a Bible study. And eventually he gave up Jehovah's Witness
Oh, no way.
and he became a Christian.
No way.
He did.
Wow. That's great.
And my neighbors are Mormon, actually, and
Oh.
I've taught their 3 children piano lessons,
Ah.
and they've been very kind. We have a nice relationship. They aren't very interested in having spiritual conversations unless it's me listening to them. And so that doesn't occur.
Yeah.
So
They're
that doesn't
nice
occur.
people. They're nice people, but they're very, very wrong about very important things. But anyway, nice people. It's a sort of a pet peeve of mine, that religion is it just bothers me. It just really bothers me. But they're very lovely people. They seem to be very lovely people anyway. So I can't knock the people, but it does bother me. It does really bother me, the religion. But I gotta get over this prejudice I have, because I've interviewed about 6 or 7, and they're all nice people. They're just lovely people.
They are. And I just, we have to just pray because I think they're stuck. I think they're stuck in a place that they don't even know that they're stuck in. But I know there's people that have left,
Yeah.
Because they read the Bible and they see the Bible. I mean, they say they read the Bible too, but they add to the Bible. And that's the problem. You can't add to the Word of God. The Word of God is sufficient on its own. It's enough. It's all we need. And if we add to God's Word, nope, He won't go for that. So, only the Bible is what I believe.
Yeah, my Catholic perspective, we have sacred tradition and sacred scripture, and the scriptures are just that part of oral tradition that happened to have been written down by God's will. So, we have sacred tradition as well, which ends, the whole deposit of faith that inspiration ended with the death of St. John the Apostle. So it's not like it's ongoing. It's not like Joseph Smith comes along and says, "Oh, new revelation." There is no new revelation.
No.
There can be private revelation. We believe in the Marian apparitions and whatever. We're not obliged to, but we can, and the church approves certain ones. But we're these private revelations are just reinforcing the teachings of the sacred deposit of faith. It's like if I meet a Mormon and I tell them about God, who and what God is, and the Trinity and the Incarnation, these are all well-established Christian basics, and like I'm revealing it to them, but it's nothing new. I'm not the source of anything new. I'm just repeating what the church has established. You know what I mean? So there is private revelation, just like when you took your Jehovah's Witness friend, you were revealing stuff in your own way, being instrumental in that grace, but there was nothing new. I mean, you were just going to the source.
Right.
That's all we can do.
Right. Point people to the one true God.
Unless you want to make up your own brand new religion, and a lot of people do that. I just watched a documentary about the Twin Flames universe, this nonsense religion, and it's really, really sad and pathetic. And it's all about meeting your ideal soulmate and having amazing sex and all. They're promising all this worldly pleasure to people and money.
Oh, wow.
And it's tragic. It's tragic that people fell for it, especially because the cult leaders were so stupid and they didn't have any charisma. Usually you see a cult leader and it's like, wow, this person has a lot of personality. No wonder people followed, But in the case of this cult, is like, no, there's no charisma, there's no intelligence, there's no beauty, there's nothing. Where's the appeal? It's just a couple of morons telling you to give them your money. And it's just sad. I often think about the patience of God and how he's watching us here on this planet in this sick, fallen world, and how we fall prey to this lie or that lie and this false religion and that false religion. And
he's so patient. I know. He's so abundantly patient.
And he's patient with me. He's patient with me too. It's like, I should let you know, I'm not looking down my nose at anyone here. I'm just like, he's patient with all of us,
Amen.
So are you and Mark, you said it was Mark, your husband?
Right.
Are you pretty much always on the same page? Like if you shift gears together, or because you're both Church of Christ and then now you're both non-denominational, is it just natural to fall into sync?
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. I left the Church of Christ before he did. And I left because I was bedridden. And I'm like, something isn't right here. When you're flat on your back and you can't even reach over your body to get a pencil that's lying next to you, you can't get a drink of water yourself, and you're just laying there, you have so much time to think and to ponder. Mm-hmm. And I realized while I was laying there that I was in this hierarchical system that I no longer agreed with. And the thing is I was a part of this hierarchy because I was one of the leaders. And I didn't realize what it felt like to be on the bottom. But when I became bedridden, I was tossed to the bottom. And so I was given very little attention. And I wasn't discipled by the leaders. I was forgotten. It made me rethink. And I'm like, I'm not a part of this anymore. I'm done. And it took Mark a while longer before he began to see. And he began to see it when he asked the elders of the church to read something that he wrote about disability.
Oh.
And they kept putting it off, and didn't do it. And he was like, this means everything to me because my wife is at home in bed, disabled, and you can't even read this paper on disability. And so he started feeling like, yep, He's been tossed to the bottom of the barrel too. So we saw this hierarchy, and we believe that as Christians, we're all on the same plane. Only God is up here, right? Only God is here, then us. Every single human being, no exception. God, humans. So I could no longer follow that. And then I don't remember how much longer it took Mark, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
And then we decided together that we would go to this non-denominational church that was not far from our home. And we went there for 13 years. And then we moved and we go to a different church now, but, basically teaches the same thing. But yeah.
Okay, this is just a little tangential question out of curiosity. How do you go about naming your church when you're non-denominational? Is it just like you can just pick anything, like Church of Christ? Well, some of the things are already trademarked. So you can't say Church of God, you can't say Church of Christ, you can't say the Catholic Church, you can't say Lutheran Church. What are you going to say? Like you pick some image from the Bible and you name your church that? What's the name of the church you go to now? What's the name of it?
Castle Oaks.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well,
Is that just the neighborhood?
yeah, there's oaks nearby, Castle Oaks.
Okay. So you could just name your church, like these non-denominational churches, they just call it whatever. Spring Park.
Yeah, right. Our other one was called Southeast Christian.
Okay.
Because we're in the southeast part of town.
Okay.
So it really has no relevance.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can't hear the name of it and think, hey, that's probably non-denominational. You can't deduce it. So it's kind of like a secret in a way.
Well, if you can't deduce it, then it's probably non-denominational.
Okay.
That's how I'd go about it. Yeah.
Right. Because if it were the Southeast Baptist Church, then we'd know it's not non-denominational. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got it, David.
Okay. It's cool. Yeah, I should start looking because here in Montreal we have so many churches, so many Christian communities. Like they're building a huge Haitian church. It's definitely not Catholic. It's probably I don't know what it is, but they haven't put the sign out yet. But when they put the sign out, I'm gonna look and see. But I'm gonna drive around and start paying attention to the names because there's one called Bethel or something like that. But if it says Christian church, does that mean it might be?
Yeah, if it says Christian church, yeah, it probably is non-denominational too.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So I'll check that out. But it's very interesting. Do you have friends that are very, very in love with their denomination and they're very they want to cling to the denomination?
Yeah, actually, my two Catholic friends. Yeah, they're the first ones that come to mind because I'm in a Bible study with them. But yeah, they both love the Catholic Church. They're both thriving. They're both doing great. They both love God. We enjoy fellowship together, and
what do you think about? Yeah, go ahead.
We're just all learning at the same time.
What do you think about this idea that I hear from non-Catholic Christians, Protestants, whatever? They say, "Oh, I switched churches because I wasn't being fed." Have you heard that? And what do you think it means exactly? Is it just does it mean I don't enjoy the music and the people, or does it mean that it's not enough Bible stuff, or is it what does it mean when people say I switched because I wasn't being fed? What does that mean?
Well, for me, my personal experience was I left the Catholic Church because I needed more Bible, right? So I didn't feel like I was being fed what I was looking for. And so, I mean, that's what I think. I don't know what other people's experiences are, but I was hungry for the Word of God. And I didn't feel like I knew it.
But the thing with the non-Catholic Christian communities is they're all obsessed with the Bible. So you can't switch denominations because you're hungry for the Bible. They're all giving you the Bible. So it must be something else. Is it the music? What is it?
I think it's the pastor.
The
I think it's the
sermons.
pastor because we have a phenomenal pastor. His name is Phil Vaughn, and he is so relatable. He is so humble, and he's so funny. Like, he feeds us, but it's not boring, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun to go to church, and we just feel like we're being fed, and I love it, So I think it's the pastor.
Is it Castle Oaks Covenant Church?
Yes. Yes.
I can find it. I found it on YouTube. So I'll check him out. He looks pretty young. He looks like he's in his 40s, maybe
He's in his 50s.
early 50s.
Yeah.
I just see a video of him falling down on his butt here.
Oh my gosh. We were at that service.
Is he okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that was at least a decade ago.
that's the internet. Okay, the internet's gonna catch that
It's
moment.
gonna
and
show.
It's just gonna show you that. That's all it's
He
gonna
has
show.
to live with that for the rest of his life, unfortunately. But
It's okay. It's okay.
yeah,
Could be
he-
worse. It could be worse.
yeah, he could have gotten really hurt, but he was okay. So, but yeah, listen to one of his sermons because
Yeah.
it's so deep and it's so enjoyable because he's so relatable and he has the best sense of humor.
Cool.
And it doesn't take away from the message.
Yeah.
It's just the right balance.
Yeah. That's nice. That's a real art form. I really like a couple of Protestant guys that I listen to on Protestant Christian radio. And they're probably, I don't know, some of them are big names, some of them maybe not, but these are just the handful that I get to listen to on this channel. And I really like them. One of the guys died recently, Charles Stanley.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
What was his denomination? Do you know?
I don't know. I
He
just
was good though, right?
recognize his name. Yeah, he was a very prolific preacher. Yeah.
He was really good. I really like him a lot, and frankly, I like all of them. There's a woman that you probably would like, for a couple of reasons. One, she's a woman, and two, she's disabled. Joni Eareckson Tada, do you know her?
Johnny. Yeah,
Johnny,
Johnny.
yeah, Johnny.
Johnny Erickson Tata. Yeah, I actually spoke on their podcast about a year and a half ago. Yeah, they had me on. And occasionally they send people over to me. I have this rare disease called complex regional pain syndrome.
Okay.
And so I told them, if you have somebody who's in dire straits and they can't figure out who to talk to, send them my way. And so they've sent me a few people. And occasionally, people who hear me speak on that podcast will contact me and want to talk about CRPS. I know you had Barbie.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about Barbie. She's
amazing. I watched that interview last night with Barbie, but Barbie is known in the CRPS community.
Yeah, well, I was pretty sure you would know her.
Yeah.
She's a special lady.
She is, yeah. I don't know her personally. We've had a couple back and forth a while ago via text, but
cool.
Yeah,
she's doing a lot of stuff. I mean, I can't vouch for her, like I don't know her that well, but it seems like she's doing a lot of good stuff, and she's got a lot of accomplishments. It's not like I look to a human and I just want to see a list of accomplishments. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. But I am impressed. Like, I am impressed that someone can get up every day and do a lot of stuff. I can't. I'm not like that. I'm like low functioning. I'm just happy to get through the day, don't be too lazy at work and don't be too gluttonous at mealtime. And that's like, I did okay. I did okay today.
Yeah.
That's my bar. My bar is very low. So
Yeah. But Johnny, yeah, she's like
she brings
she's
me to
like,
tears. She brings me to tears with her stuff.
she is amazing.
Is
I
she nice in
just,
real life?
I've not met her in real life, but
Oh, no way. I thought you
no,
went on the podcast.
I did it from here. Yeah, they had me on the
Oh,
podcast from here.
okay, like what we're doing.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't go there, but
But you
no,
got to see
I
her face to face like you're talking to me right now.
no, she actually stopped doing their podcast because she's not able to, she can't speak very well for long periods of time anymore.
Oh,
So Crystal Craven, something like that. Crystal is
okay.
actually the podcaster
Oh,
who
okay.
interviewed me.
Oh, I
But
should check that out.
it's the Johnny and Friends podcast. Yeah, look up Darci Steiner and listen to
Okay.
that podcast, and you'll
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah. I didn't know because I just hear she does a little segment on my radio that I listen to, and she sounds very peppy and coherent, and I had no
I
idea
know.
that she's losing her faculties.
Yeah. Well, she can't talk for long periods of time because she'll lose her voice,
Uh,
and so she does these segments,
uh,
but she can't do the podcast any longer. So she
uh.
has to save her voice.
How old is
Yeah.
she?
I think she's 72.
Oh, really? Okay. So she's not. I was picturing her like 40s or 50s or something. Maybe it's old stuff that I'm listening to, but she sounds very youthful. But maybe that's just
Oh,
how
maybe
she
you're
is.
listening to some older stuff, but yeah, her
Yeah.
more recent stuff, she still puts out like a daily little thing,
Okay. Okay.
but they're very brief.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. I love it because, suffering is so connected to Christ. That's why I
Oh,
love it. That's why I love. There's nothing more touching than that.
mm-hmm.
So like all the other preachers I listen to, they could talk for an hour and maybe I'll get a little tear in my eye if it's really good. But she could just talk for a minute and she'll have me in tears. Not every time, but a lot. Because it's the suffering, that's where it's at.
That's so true. Well, we're called as Christians to suffer
Yeah.
for Christ, as Christ did. So it is a calling. And some of us suffer physically, some of us suffer in different ways, but we are called to share in his sufferings.
I suffer from selfishness. I wonder if that counts.
I don't
I'm
know,
kidding. I'm
David.
kidding. I'm
I'm
kidding. I'm
not
kidding.
sure about
I'm
that one.
kidding. I'm kidding.
You'll have to pray about that one.
Just kidding. I'm just being silly. But yeah, it is it's very powerful. Like you and Barbie and Johnny. I'm not sure why she calls herself Johnny and not Joni, but
Yeah, it's Johnny.
Johnny. But yeah, it seems like there are a few of you that are representing. And a lot of the Catholic saints, I don't know if you've looked into the lives of the saints too much recently, but a lot of Christ-like suffering and death.
Mm.
Ah,
The Impact of God is one of my favorite books. It's about St. John of the Cross.
it's about him,
And
okay.
it's about St. John of the Cross and his life and his writings of when he was imprisoned and his sufferings that he went through. This was
Mm,
recommended to me by my counselor, my Christian
oh,
counselor,
oh,
who said, "You will understand your suffering better by reading this book." And
uh,
I've read it probably 6, 7 times.
nice. Can you flip open to one of those purple tags and just read me the little highlight?
Oh gosh.
Just a snippet, just a tiny little
Sure.
part of it. Just a snippet. If it's too long, just read me part of this.
Okay. Something takes place in the Christian which is greater than she is. Faith is God lifting the soul into God's own life. It is theological virtue. It comes from God and leads to God. Let me
Yeah,
pick another one.
that was good though. That
That was good. Makes you think.
his stuff is very heady.
Oh, it is. It is. But for the sufferer, if you are suffering deeply, you will resonate with it.
Mm.
Um, for John, God is an approaching God, and our main job will be not to construct, but to receive. The key word will not be so much achievement as space, making space for God in order to receive.
Ah, interesting. Because I mentioned how I don't really look at a human and want to see a list of achievements, although I do appreciate that. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that receptivity to the will of God. Yeah, for sure.
So one of the key things that he talks about in the book that really helped me was this space idea that suffering opens this space in us
Mm-hmm.
for God. That there's all this stuff going on inside of us, and there's maybe trauma, there's busyness, there's, family, there's this and that. But when you go through suffering, suffering opens up this space for God to lean into, and we invite him into that space, and suffering creates that space for him to enter into. That really resonated with me from this book.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been suffering a little bit, mild inconvenience with this chest stuff and whatever bronchitis, whatever it is, and you know, it's been rough. It's been like a month or whatever, and it pales by comparison to anything you've gone through. But I haven't suffered much in this life yet, and so I just for the whole month, I'm just thinking like, when is this gonna end? When am I gonna feel better? And and then asking God, like, I mean, hey, it's if you want to, you can heal me, but you don't have to. And I mean, whatever. Like, I'm here. I'm trying to accept it. Give me the patience. Give me the courage and the strength to deal with it. And I know it's not much suffering compared to what other people are going through. So I'm not trying to make a big deal about it, but I'm not enjoying it. You know what I mean? So can you help me to enjoy it at least? You know what I mean? Help me to
Yeah.
enjoy this mild inconvenience and this little bit of pain and discomfort. Help me to enjoy it, because I'm firmly convinced that we are supposed to enjoy everything that happens, the good, the bad, the boring, everything. Because that's what the saints were able to do, because they were connected.
I am on that train of thought with you right now. When I talk to women, and I talk to a lot of them that call me, and I'm like, enjoyment is so much a part of this journey. You've got to find something that you can enjoy, because if you can't, what's the point? I mean, like, there was one day when my counselor was working with me on this process. She's like, Darci, what around you can you enjoy? And I was not able to walk at all. And I'm sitting in a recliner in this room that I'm in now, this recliner that's right behind me. I'm sitting there. And on the opposite wall over here is a calendar, and there's still a calendar over there. And it has pictures of flowers and trees or whatever's up for that month. And I said, well, I'm enjoying looking at this calendar. Like, it's one of those cheap free calendars that you get in the mail, like, right? It doesn't take a lot to enjoy what's around you. And so I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, okay, I'm enjoying the flowers. I wish I was outside enjoying them. She's like, no, no, no. Enjoy them. Enjoy those flowers on that calendar. And so every time I look at that calendar, I enjoy it. Like, I really can. I really enjoy it.
You should write to the company. You should write a nice letter. I really enjoy this calendar.
I know.
They're gonna lock you up like in an insane asylum.
No, they're gonna be like, will you go distribute these for us?
Yeah, they're gonna give you a whole box full of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite prayers that I pray every day is I ask God to help me to enjoy everything, but in a way that does not offend God, but in a way that delights God. So at the heart of Christian joy, and we cannot go to heaven unless we're filled with joy. Like, we have to be joyful in this life, in spite of the suffering. So, but the thing about joy, our Christian joy, if we can have the grace to receive it and the grace to cooperate with it, because nothing we haven't received, right? So, but the secret of it is the delight of God. Like our joy delights God, especially if we can enjoy suffering, right? So this is what I see in the saints, and this is what I see in people like you and Barbie and Johnny, and Mother Teresa. You
Mm,
know, she suffered a lot psychologically and spiritually, and
yes.
Saint John. You know, of the cross there. It's to give delight to God. You know, one of the saints, I forget which one. It was a female. She suffered a lot, and it might have been one of the Saint Teresa's, but she said yes, because someone was asking about her suffering, and she said, yes, it's true, I suffer a lot, but the question is, am I suffering well? That's the question.
Mm,
There's no doubt I'm suffering. Yeah, I'm suffering a lot, but the question is, am I suffering well?
mm,
That's the key. So I think if we can wrap our heads around that, our hearts around that, um, you know, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity. And I'm saying this now, you know, sort of at the tail end of my sickness. So I'm sort of like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and like starting to feel a bit better, you know. If you asked me in my darkest moments of this little whatever I went through, I might not have been so optimistic, but I do believe it, and I do believe that God's working with me slowly, slowly. He's working with you, maybe a little bit more heavy-handedly, because you're tougher, right? Like that's the thing. I'm I would be dead if I had to go through what you went through. So he's very gentle with me. He's just like a little massage here and there, you know.
oh, you sell yourself short. No, you go through what you're called to,
Yeah,
and he helps you through. That's the thing, is
yeah,
it's in his strength,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's learning how to let him do that,
yeah,
because we can't do it. We're not able to do it. But when we give it up to him, he's the one that helps us to persevere. He's the one that helps us to rejoice in our sufferings. It's only because of him that I can get through from minute to minute, you know, and day to day.
Are you still
It's
spending a lot of time in that room that I'm seeing you in now?
Yes.
A lot of time in there?
I I write here. I spend a lot of time, but writing is my analgesic.
Oh, it
So I
takes you
have to
out of yourself.
yes, and it helps me to so instead of being focused on me, like when I
Yeah,
was just sitting in that chair and I'm like, I have nothing to enjoy. And then, I'm enjoying the calendar. But what I've learned since then, because after I wrote my book, so I wrote a book, and then while I'm writing this book, I'm like, okay, I got to focus not on me, but I got to turn my pain outward and give to other people. And that has helped me with my pain more than anything, more than anything. Because when I'm focused on other people and have empathy for what other people are going through, it helps not only them, but it helps me. And so in writing, I'm doing something for other people that will hopefully teach them something that I've learned and help them through their suffering journey, right? And I wrote a study guide, and I myself went through this study guide as I went through the book. And I went through it with a group of women actually at my church not that long ago. And these women were, so it's a daytime Bible study. So they're all older women. So they've been through things like this: widowed, divorced, severe chronic pain like me, just things. There's several widows in there. And so there's this group of 12 women, and everybody's just like beside themselves in their pain. And it's all different kinds of pain, some emotional, some physical, but some kind of pain. And so we're going through my book and the study guide. And the study guide I made so that people could read the book and then personalize it to their own situation. And so people were doing this and we're having conversation, and I'm watching as the weeks go by. So week 1, everybody's crying. Week 2, people are still crying. Like, it's like this grieving process, right? And then week 6, there's this turnaround, right? And I see it going like this then. Like, people are healing and then they're finding new purpose, new meaning in their suffering. One of these women is now volunteering at the hospital. Another woman started her own grief group. Another woman so she's a widow of a pastor. So
Whoa.
her husband, who was a pastor, died. She didn't know what her purpose was. She didn't know who she was without her husband. And so now she is on the leadership team at church. And it's just amazing to see what God did during these 12 weeks that we were together. It was just so, by me turning my pain from me and turning it outward, writing this book, leading this study, like, I get to watch what the Holy Spirit does.
Yeah.
And it's like I get this front row seat to get to watch him, what he's doing. And it's just beautiful.
Amazing. I put on the screen, you can't see it, but my watchers can see it. I put the cover of your book, the beautiful burgundy cover with a rose, and it's Beauty Beyond the Thorns, Discovering Gifts in Suffering. And I see your Darci J Steiner, and you've got MS. That's not multiple sclerosis. What is it?
That's Master of Science. I have my nutrition degree. So I remember I told you I was bedridden when my kids were little. So I'm 35, I'm bedridden, and I'm dying. I am dying because I can't get up to go to the bathroom, right? And so my muscle mass is depleted, my bone mass is depleted, and I'm malnourished. And my doctors were like worried I was dying. So my therapist, she said, "What do you know, Darci? What's something that you know to do that you're not doing that you could be doing for yourself?" Great question, right? And so I said, eat. I need to eat. But when you're in so much pain, it's hard to eat.
Yeah.
It really is. And so, but what I discovered is it's much easier to drink calories. And so I found this protein shake, and I fell in love with nutrition, and nutrition was helping me to get better. And I became my case study. So I enrolled in a nutrition program that I could study from home.
Nice.
And over the years, I got better. And there is no cure for CRPS.
No.
But it went away completely for 9 years.
Wow.
And I opened my private practice for nutrition. I still teach nutrition. But it saved my life, David.
Wow.
All these natural remedies saved my life and cured me of CRPS for a time. And then it came back. But for 9 years, I had a reprieve, and I taught sports nutrition at the high school. And one of my students is Derek White, who is in the NBA. He's a starter for the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I watch him. We subscribe to the NBA channel now because I've got to watch Derek.
Wow. Amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So it works, nutrition works. And so I'm doing this again. And it's been 5 years since I've had a setback, which came from an injury. I injured my foot, and the CRPS was reinitiated in my body. And so I've been fighting the CRPS again for over 5 years. But I am so much better than I used to be. And so I'm going through this again, and I'm hoping to just kick this thing down the road again.
Yeah. I've got a question for you. I know you're not going to be giving medical advice or anything like that on my show, but we're just chit-chatting about some of these remedy things.
Yeah.
I want to get your opinion, your gut reaction, because my wife, when I was dealing with this lung infection, I didn't want to go to the doctor, and my wife was saying, "Why don't you take this grapefruit seed extract? Because we have it when we get a cold, we just gargle with it, maybe drink some of it. Is it good, or is it an old wives' tale, or what is it?"
No, it is good for you.
It is.
If you have an infection, I don't know if it's
It's good for if you have a sore throat. I know that helps.
yes. If you have an infection, I think you need more
I went
than
on
that.
antibiotics eventually.
Okay, good. Um, because yeah, it won't take away the
What
infection,
is it
but
good
it is
for?
so it has a lot of antioxidants.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so antioxidants are known
It's always
to
good.
really prevent cancer and disease.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's filled with all kinds of omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah,
Have you ever tried it?
I've actually used it topically
Oh.
on my feet
Oh,
and
no
my
way.
ankles. Yeah, I've used it topically
Could
to
I
kind
rub it
of
on my sore ribs?
sure.
Cool.
I would try it for sure.
Yeah. Do you think the cartilage could heal? Because I got this slipping rib thing happening
It
where there's
eventually
there's a
will.
clicking noise.
Eventually,
Click, 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 click.
I think it eventually will.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you pray for me, it will.
I will pray for you.
Thank you very much. The other thing is, my wife was asking about wormwood. It's a poison, right? Like, why would I take wormwood?
I don't know much about wormwood to be able to speak on it.
Yeah, but you heard about it from the Middle Ages.
I don't know much about it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. It's okay. I actually met a guy. I would like to connect you by email. He's an herbalist. He knows all about herbs. I could ask him about anything. Like I'd ask him about the mustard seed. He'll talk for an hour about mustard.
Oh, cool.
So if you're into nutrition, maybe it'd be fun for you to chat with this guy just
Sure.
to pick his brain because he's sort of geeking out on all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I geek out on amino acids is what I
Ah,
geek out on.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So we could have some good conversations probably.
Yeah, before we wrap it up, because it's been an hour and 6 minutes, like I want to have you back for sure. Maybe it would be fun to do like a little three-way conversation with you and Barbie. That would be fun to hear the two of you sort of share ideas and share perspectives on
You bet. Sure.
on faith and suffering and stuff like that. But sort of as a last big topic, I just wanted to get your impression of Saint Paul because he suffered a lot and he recounts his sufferings in the New Testament, and it's just beautiful when he talks about being left half dead and freezing and starving and shipwrecked and all that sort of thing. I just wonder if you draw inspiration from that particular passage, and what it means to you and how you can abstract from that or generalize from that.
It's a perfect question for me because I do. He is I mean there's so many people in the Bible that inspire me, but Paul was given a thorn in the flesh and it wasn't taken away even though he prayed. And God chose him to bear this thorn. And what did Paul do for us?
Mm.
He wrote most of the New Testament.
Yeah.
With a thorn. With a thorn.
Mm.
So suffering draws out deep spiritual truths.
Mm.
Suffering isn't all bad. Like, if you're going through suffering, embrace it for the good that can come from it. Paul was chosen to write most of the New Testament because of his suffering. God allowed it, and that's what came of it. I think that is beautiful. I think it's so beautiful. It's very hard. I've not been shipwrecked. I've not been through the things that he's been through, but I can't wait to meet him in heaven.
Yeah.
But I draw so much inspiration from him, for sure.
true hero of the faith. It's I mean, I feel a little bit bad, for all the other amazing saints in the Bible, because I do kind of put Paul. I do tend to like really focus on Paul because he's so amazing. So, maybe I'm getting carried away, but a lot of people I think share my enthusiasm for Paul.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. You know, he's so manly, and uh, it's just you can see Christ at work in him, and he's like us in the sense that he met Christ after Christ had ascended, right? He
Yeah,
didn't
well, he
he
was in chains for Christ. Yeah, he never met him. I
he never
mean,
met him when Christ was walking around, right? He never
no,
met him. So that's like us, right?
right? Yep.
So we don't have an excuse, like, because we could say, well, Peter walked around with him and still denied him, but Paul didn't even get to walk around with him. But
I know.
it's amazing. It really is amazing. So we're going to wrap it up here. I hope you come back. It was a joy meeting you, and
Oh,
I'm really blessed to, connect with you and to hear, because I really want to learn how to suffer and die properly. I guess, as just sort of like one last little quick question, I want to ask you about the connection between suffering and death. One of my Catholic saints said, "Give me suffering and give me death." Like, that's all she wanted, was suffering and death, because she saw the value of it. What connection do you make in terms of the preparation for a happy death, a good death? The connection between your suffering and having a good death.
well, I think suffering prepares us for death. I think those who have suffered, understand that it really is preparation for that day, because it helps you prioritize, what's most important to me. And usually that bumps faith to the top,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so it helps you to prioritize your relationship with God. And then it also prioritizes family, which helps prepare you for death, right? Because it helps you want to fix broken relationships, restore relationships that are broken. I mean, there's so many benefits, I think, pre-death with within suffering. And so nobody wants to die, I mean, nobody wants to die tragically. Let's put it that way. No one wants to. People are afraid, more of the fear of dying, how they're going to die, than dying itself, because they're going to be, freed from their suffering, hopefully, right?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think a lot of us are afraid of the death process. But if you've suffered, then you know that things that you can do, like when I'm on my deathbed, I know that I can go to this safe place.
Yeah, you can look at your calendar on the wall.
I can look at my calendar.
Yeah.
I can have one of those, brought to me. I can do my deep breathing. I can have family that's nearby. I can do any number of things that help me relax, and not panic, or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I, you know,
I just wanted to mention also that Jesus Christ, he's fully God, but he's also fully man, and in his human nature, he was revolted by his own pending suffering and death. And so
yes.
we shouldn't expect more from ourselves than we expect from the God man, Jesus
Mm,
Christ. So he didn't want it. He did not want it in his human nature, but he submitted his will to his divine nature. He submitted his human will to his divine will, and he said, "If this cup can pass from me, great. But if not, your will be done." So I think that's really going to give us a realistic expectation when it comes to what is suffering, what is death from a human perspective. It's ugly, it's painful, and it's abhorrent to our nature. But by following the example of Christ, that submission of the will is where it's at, and to as we've been discussing,
Mm,
that's the key. So
yeah.
it's not like Jesus didn't feel. He felt way more intensely than you and I ever will.
Yeah.
But in spite of that feeling, he had the joy of being the son of the Father,
Yeah. Great point. Thanks. That helps me.
right? So, any final thought? I'll give you the final thought, and we'll wrap things up here, and we'll keep in touch. And I hope to have you back in 2024. My calendar's been filled up because of Podmatch, which is where you and I met.
Yeah, that's
Right?
great.
Do you like
Yeah,
Podmatch?
I do. I do.
Have you
I
done
was
a
going to
lot of
ask,
interviews?
I have. In
Nice.
fact, I was going to ask you, so you're wearing a Refuge Freedom
Yeah. Have you met him?
stories. I have the same t-shirt because I was on Johnny's podcast.
He was on mine. I haven't been on his, but he's been on mine. He may have invited me. I can't remember, but he's Canadian.
He is. Yeah,
Yeah, cool guy.
he is. And yeah, he's a musician.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he was I was on his podcast a couple years ago. He was one of my first that I
Oh, no
interviewed
way.
with. Yeah.
I'll have to watch
So
that. Send me the link for that.
I have the same t-shirt.
It's a great shirt.
It is high
It's one,
quality.
yeah, it's one it's one of my favorites. Amazing. So you haven't yet connected with Barbie on the podcast front. It's only on
I
peripheral stuff.
haven't. I don't even know if she would remember my name,
Oh, okay.
but
Okay.
she might.
You enjoyed
Um,
listening to her on my show?
yeah, yeah.
Watching her?
I listened to the whole thing last night.
She's the same person you thought she was, kind of thing.
I didn't know much about her.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just knew she was a face, one of the faces for CRPS,
Okay. Okay.
and
So that was really your first proper impression of her as a person.
exactly.
Ah, she's cute, eh? She's got a very sweet energy, no?
She is very energetic. Yes.
Yeah. Cute, cute lady. What's with you suffering women? You're so full of energy.
We learn to hide pain well.
Mm,
We're practiced at hiding it.
mm,
So, you know, and hopefully some of it is we're bearing, the image of God. We're called to bear his image. So, prayerfully, that's one of the things that I pray for, is to bear his image and draw people to him. So, hopefully, I'm an image bearer.
for sure, for sure. So what's maybe I don't have a lot of listeners, I'll be frank with you, on my podcast, but it'll eventually get out to a bunch of people.
Sure.
But it's a mixed crowd. My listeners and viewers are mostly Christian, but they're not all Christian. A lot of them are atheist and agnostic and stuff like that. So sometimes I like my guest to leave a message that's open to all kinds of people, and I think you do that anyway because you're non-denominational. But what would be sort of like a general message that you could leave for everyone?
Yeah, I just, gosh, no matter if you're suffering or you're searching, I think just focus in on the person of Jesus Christ. If you look at his life in the Word of God, and I think Paul's a good example too, who we've already talked about, but some of these heroes of the faith, but looking at the life of Jesus is going to help you understand Christianity if you don't. It's going to help you understand suffering if you don't. It's going to help you just in your daily life, to watch the humility of this man. He turned things upside down, and he didn't like that hierarchy thing that I was talking about. And once I realized that, I was like, I'm not following Jesus. I need to figure this out and start over. And I don't think it's too late to ever start over. And I think a good place to start is with the humility of Jesus Christ.
Absolutely, amen. So I hope you're going to pray for me and mine. I'm going to be praying for you and yours, okay?
I will.
And I can't wait to meet your husband, Mark. You'll invite him on the podcast. I want to hear his side of the story. I want to hear what he has to say. And I ask all my guests to invite their spouses on, so don't think I'm
Oh,
singling you out.
he will take you up on it
Good.
because he has before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been on probably 4 or 5 podcasts with me.
Nice. Yeah, so that would be exciting. It's always nice to meet the spouse. Um, and yeah, and I do enroll my guests in the perpetual mass. You're going to be getting the graces of those prayers, those Catholic prayers that take place at the mass every
you.
day. Okay, even if
Thank you.
come what may, you're going to be getting those extra graces. Just think of it as extra graces. And so yeah, it was a real pleasure meeting you. God bless you, and please do remember me in mine. Okay,
I will, David. Yeah, enjoyed our talk tonight.
Excellent. Thank you so much. God bless you. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Okay.
And
take care.
Give my email to Mark and just tell him to get in touch, and we'll set it up.
Sounds good.
All right, Darci.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
God bless you. Bye.
Bye-bye.